Victor Williams has a life in basketball. The former Oklahoma State point guard has his own basketball academy in his hometown of Kansas City, and he has taught hundreds, if not thousands, of players over the years. But 23 years ago, Williams had an experience that shaped his basketball life and his life outside of basketball. He was a sophomore at Oklahoma State when a plane carrying 10 members of the basketball family crashed, returning from a game in Colorado. Saturday marks the anniversary of the crash, and Victor joins us to remember the 10. But first, I want to say a word of thanks to these sponsors for supporting the Jenni Carlson Show. Oklahoma Ford Dealers, Two Fellas Movers, MidFirst Bank, the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, FireLakeJobs.com, Next Gen Roofing, 988, Oklahoma's mental health lifeline. Remember, drive into your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers today for the best deals on Ford's full lineup of trucks and SUVs. Ford is the best in Oklahoma. And hey, if you're thinking about moving, let's face it, a box of pizza and a case of beer just don't work like they used to. Nobody wants to help you move. But we know two fellas that love moving. At Two Fellas Moving Company, we offer free, no-strings quotes for your move. With over 20 years experience, we've pretty much moved it all. Our services don't end up moving either. Need to do some remodeling or spring cleaning? We've got you covered with dumpster rentals and junk haul services. Remember, our quotes are free and there are no strings attached. If you're moving in Oklahoma, make sure to call the fellas. Visit twofellas.com for your free quote today. Well, Victor Williams, it is so good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm Jenni. I'm having a lot of fun and getting older. Got 2 kids now, and just enjoying life for sure.
You were just a point guard at Oklahoma State like 5 minutes ago. So how is any of that possible?
Right. I'm telling you, man. I used to hear the old, time flies, and enjoy it now because pretty soon you're going. And I'm telling you, as I gotten older, you can just tell how fast the years go by. Having kids just speeds up life for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to talk about life. I want to talk about your basketball life because obviously that has continued even after your playing days. But talking about time flying, I can't believe that it's been 23 years since the plane crash happened. And Saturday is the 23rd anniversary of the crash, January 27th, 2001. You were just a sophomore that season at Oklahoma State, which was your first at Oklahoma State. So, kind of take me back to that season. Just walk me up to, sort of what you remember about the earliest part of that 2001 season.
That season is probably the closest far as team camaraderie and team chemistry. That team was really close. We were really, really close. I mean, when I tell you we did everything together, we did everything together, whether it was going to eat together, hanging out at each other's places. I'm talking about from top to bottom. Like, Fred had the house. We was all because he was kind of the old guy at that time. So he had the house.
Frederick Janzian.
Yeah, Frederick Johnson. Yeah, so he had the house, and we would all go over there and have parties, but we was that's what I can remember about that team. Probably the closest team I've ever been on for sure. So
and you were a transfer onto that team. Came from Illinois State. What was it about Oklahoma State that resonated with you? Why did you end up landing there? Was it that tightness of the team that you saw?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I came, my first year when I had to sit out, they was a senior-led team. They had I think 6 or 7 seniors. So and that was really good. That was an Elite 8 team. I just seen it, and when I got there, I just seen how good the team was first and foremost, but also seen that it was an opportunity for me to be able to step in and play right away. Because at that time you had to sit out, so it was an opportunity for me to learn from the older guys and really make that transition from the Missouri Valley Conference to the Big 12 Conference, which is a huge jump as far as talent level. So it was perfect for me to get a chance to practice with those guys that whole year and really learn the ropes and having a bunch of older guys guarding me in practice and really teaching me what I needed to do the next year. So it was a great opportunity for me.
Well, you talk about the closeness of that team, Victor, and you guys go out to Colorado that season, play the Buffs. That was actually a loss that you guys suffered, but then you head home, different planes, different guys on different planes. Was it just kind of a normal road trip that was happening until you guys get word that something might have happened to that third plane? Or kind of walk me through just what you recall of that day.
Yeah, I mean, it was a normal road trip in the sense of, we always was taking those 3 planes, took the 2 jets and the prop plane. So it was kind of a normal deal for us. So with that being said, it was kind of, it was just normal behavior, right? But what I do remember about it is, it was a huge snowstorm. Like, looking outside, you couldn't really see 5 feet in front of you. So I remember that. And I also remember just being, after losing a tough game on the road, I think we was ranked top 10 in the country or top 12, I think, in the country at the time, went to a hostile environment down in Boulder, and they played really well and beat us. And I remember coach was really, he didn't think we played up to our best, and we had a huge big Monday game against Missouri. So all of those thoughts kind of raveling in, and we're not happy with ourselves, and we know we got a big game on Monday against Missouri. So we just sit in the hangar, kind of waiting like we normally do after a win or a loss, and I just remember, coach made a few adjustments on, who was riding on what plane, and it wasn't anything that was out of the norm. Like, it's something that we've done. I mean, I've been on that plane before, and we always actually like to kind of ride on that plane because the pilot, I think Denver was the pilot, and he always kind of just let us kind of have the whole experience a little bit. And then that was probably as far as away you can be from coach at the time, especially after a loss. So being on that plane wasn't always bad, So it was normal behavior, just a normal see you when we get back to Stillwater. We knew we wasn't going to be able to practice that hard because we only had one day to get ready for Monday. So it was just normal behavior. And I just remember when, for me, speaking for myself, I just remember me being at home and in my room, and my phone just kept ringing. Like, it was just ringing off the hook. And I didn't, being around me after a loss, anybody knows me, I'm not really the person to talk to. But it just kept doing. It was just kind of abnormal for me. And then I picked up the phone, and it was my high school coach. And my high school coach said, he kind of had this this sigh of relief in his voice, like, oh my God, like, it's not you guys. Like, and so it was a report that came out on CNN or on the news or something that a plane had went down out of Boulder. And at the time, very few people knew that we were riding 3 different planes, So he just said, "Hey man, it's a plane that went out of Colorado. I thought it was you guys." And I'm like, "No, coach, man, I'm at home. Everything's good. We all here. Everything's perfect." And minutes later, kind of figure out what happened, and I get a call that it was our plane. So, you can only imagine how my life changed ever since that point, for sure. So,
actually, I'm not sure I can imagine, Victor. I mean, that's the thing. I think what you guys went through was so horrific and so terrible, and yet we saw how you guys handled things with such, grace and, class, and just so many things that I come back to my mind when I think about everything that came after the crash. But how did you handle things? I mean, that plane had 2 teammates who, you talk about how close the team was. I mean, that alone would have been horrible. And then it's 8 more. I mean, how did you handle things then?
Yeah, people say 2 teammates, and yes, those teammates was, those 2 guys was our teammates. But man, those 10 people were people we seen every day. Like, so, you think of a basketball team, you count the players, you count the coaches, but there's so many relationships that's on the backside of those players and those coaches that's as valuable as the players. So those guys that went down in that crash were people that I seen every day as much as I've seen my teammates. As far as how we handle it, at the time it was kind of one of those things that were, you grow up and you think about toughness, mental toughness. People tell you, oh, you just got to get over it, get to the next game, utilize basketball as an escape. But, as I've gotten older, I look at it and say, I wish we would have handled it a little bit different. I wish we would have had the time to really grieve. I wish we would have had the right specialists and the people that really talked to and took advantage of that. Because I don't think none of us did. And I think that as I've gotten older, I really felt the trauma that having an experience like that caused, and for us to kind of mask it through basketball and mask it through anything is not the proper way to do it. And, we needed the counseling. We needed the time to really deal with what we had to deal with. And that would have been a proper way to do it, because I can guarantee you talk to each and every last one of people that was really involved and really had to deal with that pain and deal with that at that time. It definitely affected our life for sure. And so a lot of people, when they see it, they talk to me about, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's so different when you think about how we've evolved talking about mental health. I mean, 23 years ago is not that long ago, but that wasn't really something that was talked about openly. It sounds like that was, if there's one thing you could go back and change, maybe that's the conversation that we needed to have more of.
Absolutely. And, at that time it was just about, how we can, pay the respect to the guys and those guys. That is something that I think about all the time. Like, I think about it all the time. Every time I'm on any plane or, leaving any situation, the one thing that situation taught me is that, you can't take any moment for granted. The people around you, you just got to make sure that you value that time and tell people you love them. And, cause you just don't know. Right. And, but as you said, the one thing I wish we would have did different, and the one thing I think that I wish would have been more heightening at the time was, to concentrate on the mental health and the effect that it has on you. And and so it's a trauma that to this day I wish I would have talked with somebody about, and I'm currently going to counseling now, talking to people about, things that I've went throughout my life, and it's really helped me. And talking about that plane crash is high on that. It's high on that list. So, it's something that I'm dealing with actually as 44-year-old man. It's something I'm dealing with to this day. So it's So.
And that's healthy. That's healthy, right?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's really healthy, and it's paying dividends for me now. But I really wish I would have did it when I was actually there. So.
Yeah, and I was thinking in retrospect, I think I might have had some of the same thoughts of like, I'm not sure what Oklahoma State's going to do, what these guys are going to do, but as I think back now, I sort of think, should you guys have kept playing? Like, was that the best idea? Do you ever remember a conversation where there was talk of maybe, should the season go on? Should you guys keep playing?
Mm-hmm. No, there was never any conversation of that. I think coach left it in our hands, and what should we do? What should we do? Yeah. But, the one thing that you got to realize about being a competitive basketball player and being in those types of situations, that's, what makes you that way is just the intensity and the value of competition. Like, that's kind of what you live in and live through. So the one thing that we all had in common is just that push for competition, right? So we needed to be in that airspace, at least so that's kind of where our mind went to. Okay, let's get back to competition. That's all we know, right? Waking up in the morning, doing stuff that other people just not doing, and putting your body through stuff that other people's not putting your body through. And it's like that, that word gets thrown around. Back when I was coming up, it was all about mental toughness, right? Like being able to deal with adversity and overcome adversity. So, when you live in that life and you grow up in that bubble, that's just something that you connect to. So it's no thought process of quitting or not doing it. Like you just don't think that way because that's not even an outlet, right? I mean, it's more hype now, but back then it was just like that wasn't even a thought for us to stop playing, right? You got kind of get to them, but well, those 10 guys would have wanted us to keep playing, right? So you think that way, right? Like they want us to keep playing. They want us to keep. So to answer your question, no, we never thought about not playing.
One of the things that people talked about after the crash was remember the 10. It obviously has become talked about at Oklahoma State beyond. You obviously knew those 10 people, as you mentioned before, in a way that a lot of us did not. That
Absolutely.
team, you guys had a special connection. So as you have thought about those guys, I mean, whether it's Daniel Lawson, Nate Fleming, I mean, the list is long, obviously, and unfortunately, but what are those memories for you as you think back now 23 years later and you remember the 10? Because your memories are totally different than those outside the program.
Yeah, so, it's a big memory of mine. I'm actually, I have my own gym now, and I have a big remember the 10. I'm not signed, but it's painted throughout my gym. So when people walk in my gym that don't know, they be like, so what does that mean? And I have to explain it to them. And so if you ever, that's the first thing you see when you walk in my gym is a big painting of remember the 10. So yeah, my memories run deep. Like I said, that me and that team was very close. And all of those guys have affected my life. All 10 of them have affected my life in one way or the other. I was a decision away from being on that same plane, right? So you have a little bit of survivor's guilt there. You grow up and you just live with that. Like I've been there. Like I was one of those guys on that plane before. Like what makes me so special to be on the other plane and them guys not be on. You know what I mean? Like you live with that thought process and you tangle with that a lot. And so that's always hard, but I just have really great memories of all of them. Dan was speaking for the two teammates that I have as far as just because I spent even outside of basketball with those guys, and Dan was one of the most funniest, like the most giving, like he was kind of the with all of us, I think we can always say like Dan was the most selfless guy that you possibly can have as a teammate. He wanted to play more, but it was about us. Like it was about us, and he was just a good person to be around. He's funny and witty, and he was just a great guy. Nate was another unselfish person. He was going to practice hard every day. One of the most smartest people I've ever been around. Like he was one of those guys where you just knew like this dude gonna make a lot of money one day. You know what I mean? Like you just knew Nate was going. He was gonna be very successful. And both of them come from great families. The Fleming family and the Lawson family was always really good for me. And so I can go on and on about the other ones, but everybody has affected my life and was very, very good for me, and the relationships was great. So I miss them every day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I still marvel, you were talking about the competitive nature of every guy on the team. And, you sort of ran to that competition as the thing that was familiar, but still just a week after the crash, you guys play. You mentioned that Missouri matchup. That Missouri matchup happened at Gallagher-Iba. And Vic, I went back and I watched a little bit of the telecast, and I didn't even get to the starting lineups before I had tears. I mean, I can only imagine the emotions of that day for you guys. And just, you won that day. It was a great game, a close game. But what was that day like, returning to, Gallagher-Iba on the court, a place that had become a place where people left flowers and memorials, and suddenly it's a basketball arena again? I mean, just so many things. Take me to that day.
Yeah, I mean that day was unbelievable, because you're getting ready for a basketball game, what you're dealing with, high emotions, and you're trying to prepare yourself for a basketball game. But it really wasn't about you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, every basketball game, and to that point, I'm worried about, okay, am I going to play well? I have to do this. I have to follow this scouting report. Coach told me to force him left. I got to make sure he don't go right. Like, I'm just figuring out all of these things that I need to be worried about during a basketball game. But out there, it was just like, you almost just running up and down the court, and you just in this zone of competition, but you was playing for so many other people besides just like yourself, like, you know what I mean? And I just remember the game because it was like it was 20,000 people in there, and those was just, it was just like we're all playing against Missouri. Like, nobody's cheering. We're all in this game together. You know what I mean? And there's no fans. It's like, it's just one community playing against Missouri. So it was a different game for me. We won it. I was so happy, just in, sad at the same time. So just dealing with a lot of different emotions, and it was a tough game for me, for sure.
Yeah. I just remember the noise. It was something. It was something different. I mean, Gallagher-Iba got noisy.
Yeah.
But that was a different. It felt different. Even the noise was different that day.
Yeah, it was emotional, and that's why I tell people that. People ask, was that the loudest I ever heard Gallagher-Iba? And I say, yeah, because if you put that many emotional people in a place at one time, then it's going to feel different. And and I think people was happy, they were hurt, they were sad, they were happy, and so when you combine all of those emotions and put them in one building like that, then it's going to be something that you can never forget. It's going to be a noise that you can never forget. So I just think that it was by far the noisiest I've ever heard it, and I've been in that place when it's been really loud. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, to hear you talk about basketball, I mean, obviously, your passion comes through, whether you're talking about, that day, that win, or the sadness of the crash. I mean, your passion for the sport is obvious, Vic. But I'm wondering, sort of, as your playing days progress, I want to hear all about what you're doing now. But when did you realize that, like, basketball was always going to be your life, even if it wasn't playing? Like, when did you sort of make that decision that this passion, this thing that I love so much, just has to be a part of my life forever?
Basketball was one of them sports that I gravitated to when I was younger. I mean, I don't want to cry, but
all right.
It was something that I felt like built my confidence, and it gave me a purpose when I was a kid. So that's why you hear the connection I have with the sport, because it gave me an alley, it gave me something that I had to work towards. So yeah, it's something that I knew would be a part of my life. I just knew it. So as I continue to evolve throughout my life, and I see how basketball put me in so many different spaces that I wouldn't be in, then I just kind of really grew to love the sport, really grew to love the connection that it gave me to people, and so it's just something that I've always valued. So
yeah. Now you've got your basketball academy, the Victor Williams Basketball
Yeah.
Academy, and I'm guessing I've never walked through the doors, but I'm going to guess that passion for the game is one of the things that you're teaching young people there in Kansas City. Tell me about the academy, the program, just how it's sort of structured for, that really resonates with you. You're obviously the leader of the ship, so just
Right.
how you've set up the academy to make it make basketball for those kids you're working with what it is for you.
Yeah, exactly. I use basketball as a life skill. Basketball is something that for me, it taught me life skills. It taught me how to work hard and taught me how to, get out of life what you put into it, right? And so everybody that walked through my door, it doesn't, the talent level is going to be the talent level. Some are more gifted than others, but at the end of the day, I feel like I can touch everybody's life and teach them how to value work and how to handle adversity and how to, live their life doing the right things by working hard, So that's what my gym is all about. It's about family, it's about camaraderie. Anybody that comes to my gym, like you'll feel it because, people, I get calls from people that's just everyday working people that's came through my gym at one point in their life, and they be like, man, I remember when you said this, and this applies to, what I'm going through in business, or this applies to what I'm going through now. So, the message is always the same, and you have to continue to work hard, continue to handle the adversities of life, and that's what Victor Williams Basketball Academy is all about, for real.
So you played at OSU for Eddie Sutton, Sean Sutton, even James Dickey was there eventually, I think. So if Cowboy fans walked in, would they recognize some of those guys in what you do today?
Oh, absolutely, yes, for sure they do. I've always had a high level of respect. I mean, when I was in it with Coach Sutton, and especially during my younger times, I didn't quite appreciate what he was doing. Like, I always thought it was just a little bit harder than it needed to be. I thought he said a lot more than he needed to say, right? And but as I got older, I found great appreciation for what he was doing. I grew up in a single parent home in the middle of the inner city, and there was a lot of structural things that I didn't learn as a kid that I needed to learn for my life today. Being a father, being a husband and all that. Like, I needed to learn those structured principles that I needed to learn to become the best version of myself. And Coach Sutton put me in those situations to where I had to tighten up and make good decisions that led me to being who I am today. So, I always, he's a guy that I always appreciate. I tell people about him all the time that I've always appreciated him. Sean was kind of the middleman to where it was like, this is what my dad, he been through it all. So he already knew what his dad was thinking. He told me one time, like Coach looked at me like a son. He was like, man, Coach look at you like a son, so, he's going to be harder on you than you think he should be. And so he was kind of the middle guy. He was tough on me, but he had a place for me that he had kind of allowed me to understand it better coming from Coach. James Dickey was the same way. Patsy was the one that held it all together for me. She was the one that really, would invite me over, cook some dinner, and just really allowed me to really understand, that her husband didn't hate me as much as I thought he did. so yeah, man, it was a good experience for me, for sure.
Well, and that sort of brings us full circle. Before I let you out of here, you're talking about that team chemistry that really extended beyond just the team to the coaches to the wives. I mean, I think that speaks again to just how that 2001 season, I mean, just how much that was, you guys all leaned on each other. And I'm wondering, even now, 23 years later, What's sort of that relationship like now? How much do you try to talk to those guys, the assistants, family members, just those sorts of things as the crash anniversary rolls around? I'm guessing you guys have contact on a pretty regular basis, even when it's not January 27th.
Yeah, we have contacts on a regular basis. We actually got a group chat that we all on. And the group chat is buzzing all throughout the day. I have to silence, and I think I silenced it now because it was something, somebody's going to say something that about basketball, or that team again, and it's crazy that team that we had there, the closeness of that team rubbed on the teams after the crash, because we really, that team really brought us together as far as like having that family dynamic of team and how close in that we were. So, that next year we get other good players, but the chemistry and the baseline of who we were as a team was already set, right? And so we close, like it just kind of just rubbed throughout my whole career there, to be honest with you. So it's we got a lot of guys on our group chat, some that was a part of that plane crash, some that was on teams after that, but have deep value for, what we all went through with the plane crash. And so, yeah, to answer your question, we all stay pretty tight, close, and we talk about it just about every day.
Well, Vic, this has been awesome. Thank you for being so open to share about that team, that experience. I know it's a life changer, so I can't thank you enough for being willing to share about that.
Hey, I appreciate you, Jenni, for having me on anytime, okay?
And thanks to all of you. If this was your first time hearing or watching the Jenni Carlson Show, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Also, download our new Sellout Crowd app for your iPhone or Android. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time.